الشعب كلهم بسند حسن عن ابن عباس وأنس قالا. This hadith is in three collections, collection of الطبراني and Ibn Sa'd in his الطبقات, and as well Imam البيهقي in الشعب, and has a reasonable narration narrated to us by Ibn Abbas and Anas, and the wording is the same almost with maybe a very small variation, so I'm not going to even go into it. And they describe the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, so it's a nice little description, and it's within the series of Humbleness, which I'll continue maybe till Sunday. And they described him عليه الصلاة والسلام by the following words. قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يجلس على الأرض ويأكل على الأرض ويعتقل الشاة ويجيب دعوة المملوك على خبز الشعير. So they described him عليه الصلاة والسلام with four things. They said he used to sit on the ground عليه الصلاة والسلام, even though there may be other places for him to sit. Maybe there was availability of sitting on chairs or on something he was offered, obviously عليه الصلاة والسلام, thrones throughout his life, especially in his late life, and he refused. He would always refuse. And he would enter someone's house, he would always sit wherever the person was sitting, on exactly the same level. He would refuse to sit on anything higher. So even if the difference was just a very thin piece of furniture, he wouldn't sit on that عليه الصلاة والسلام. If you're sitting on the ground, he would sit on the ground right in front of you عليه الصلاة والسلام. And whenever he sat, he would make sure, and whenever he ate on the ground as well. This is sunnah عليه الصلاة والسلام, eating on the ground. There's nothing wrong with eating on a table and chairs. It's fine. However, maybe at some point in your life when you have children, teach them to eat on the ground. There's something in that that's helpful for them. Even if that's not the norm in the house, and it doesn't have to be, but maybe every once in a while, have them sit on the ground, on the floor, and eat, because it's humbling. It's something in it for them to kind of appreciate a little bit of humility in the way that they receive Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's ni'mah. And the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام would always eat on the floor, on the ground. He would sit on the ground, he'd eat on the ground. وَيَعْتَقِلُ الشَّاة. You would see him pulling a shah, which is a female sheep, or sometimes it can be used for a goat as well. So he would see him by the horn or by the collar pulling a sheep. And he didn't necessarily send someone else to do this عليه الصلاة والسلام. He would take care of his animals, like whatever animals he had in the barn or in the backyard, whether it was goats or sheep or camels, or if he had عليه الصلاة والسلام a cat or whatever he had, he would manage them عليه الصلاة والسلام himself. He didn't have someone else do this for him. He didn't feel that this was something that took away from his status. The point of what they're trying to point out here is that he did these things, and he didn't feel that they were taking away from his status عليه الصلاة والسلام, or that he was beyond that, or that these things were beneath him. No, he very naturally, normally would sit on the floor, he would eat on the floor, he would manage his own animals. وَيُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الْمَمْلُوك عَلَى خُبْزِ الشَّعِيرِ. The mamluk is someone who doesn't have their freedom. وَيُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الْمَمْلُوك. He would respond to the invitation of a slave who was inviting him to eat خُبْزِ الشَّعِير, which is bread made from barley. So I'm not sure if you've been on a really horrible diet and they made you eat barley bread, but it's horrible. And it really is very difficult to eat. And I had a friend who had a specific disease, and he would have to eat خبز الشعير. And honestly, I had no idea how this person was able. It's so difficult to eat. Like it does not taste nice at all. And it's really and the Prophet ﷺ, by the way, never ate the bread that we eat ever. Like he never had the luxury of eating bread that was made from processed wheat. If it was always made from either processed barley or non-processed barley. So barley with its with the covering. So he would respond to the invitation of a slave who was inviting him to eat a piece of barley bread with him, because he didn't feel that any of that was something that he shouldn't do, or that any of that was something that was beneath him. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Very normal to him, because it's not, and it wasn't. See, the point of them saying this about him is that he didn't put any effort in doing this. Maybe if I'm in that position, I'll put effort into doing it. So I make a point of sitting on the ground. No. He wasn't making a point. This was what came naturally, because he understood the reality of humanity and who he was, alayhi salatu wasalam, as a servant. He understood that. So it was normal, it was natural. And this is the piece that we have to understand about him, alayhi salatu wasalam, that this was not an effort that he put in, where he would go out of his way and respond to the invitation of a slave just to show that he's humble. No, this is natural. It was normal. He didn't. This felt to him as the most. It came to him naturally, because of his understanding of things. We have a problem in the way we understand things. So we may do one of these things, but we'll do them out of our way, like because we don't think we should be doing them, or a part of us may feel a little bit embarrassed to do them. He didn't, alayhi salatu wasalam, and that is the key difference. Is that he lived his life not feeling that any of these things required any effort, or that he did them to make a point to himself. He just felt them that was natural. To sit on the floor, eat on the floor, pull a sheep along, or go and share a piece of barley bread with the slave who's inviting him to it, alayhi salatu wasalam. And that's just his character, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It's really the character piece that you have to learn. Maybe not the practices will differ from one timing in our lives to the other, but it's the character piece that we have to learn from him, عليه الصلاة والسلام. يروي الإمام ابن سعد في طبقاته والإمام الطبراني في الكبير والإمام البيهقي في الشعب كلهم بسند حسن عن ابن عباس وعن أنس قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم يجلس على الأرض ويأكل على الأرض ويعتقل الشاة ويجيب دعوة المملوك على خبز الشعير. صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم. والحمد لله لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك إليك. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا وحبيبنا وقرة أعيننا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. جزاكم الله خيرا.